welcome back to another episode of Everyday Bubbly with Taylor and Allegra.
Hi, we're so happy to be here.
We are wrapping up our friendship series today. And before we dive into it, let's get our drinking on.
Let's do it. I'm always ready. So we are drinking. Oh, let me actually pull up the whole bottle. I don't know why I picked my glass. We are drinking.
Well, because the bottle, the label has seen better days.
Yeah, it's not looking so good. But we have a Cremant de Bourgogne from France, from Francois Labat is the name of the winery or distributor. I honestly don't know who. It's
Could
the winery.
be either. I think it's
a winery.
Yeah.
And it is a Cremant wine, which is essentially a champagne, but like not from the region of Champagne.
Yeah, it's a sparkling wine from Burgundy.
Yeah.
From the Burgundy region.
But it's made the same way champagne is, and honestly, I'm very into it.
Yeah. Very dry, very crisp, very bubbly.
Very bubbly. And for those of you who've been following along, like I have a whole bunch of like food intolerances now. So I've been having to avoid white wines. But today, what did I text you today?
You're like, it's too nice of a day for red.
Yeah, it was like too nice to be
that.
Contained by a red wine or something that didn't even make sense.
Well, it's so funny though that I think, when we were looking more into this wine, I think it is made with a Pinot Noir grape. I just think it was skins off. Mm-hmm. That's why it's not a rosé or pink.
But it's really tasty and delicious and so crispy. And I have been craving a white wine. So I have this is going to give me a headache and I don't even give a fuck. Like I want this wine so badly.
Advil. I'll be fine.
I'll drink my dandelion tea when I get home. I'll be okay.
It's fancy.
My dandelion, I think it's literally dandelion leaves. It's like not even anything cool.
Cut from, so I can just go out into
maybe don't try that.
And like crush it up.
I mean, theoretically, yes, but like watch you not get dandelion and get like
sick.
You'd be violently ill.
Just kidding.
Let's not have that. But yeah,
okay.
That's what we're drinking.
What are we cheersing to?
You tell me. What are we cheersing to today?
So I'm cheersing to this weekend because we got.
I'm cheersing to this weekend.
So we're cheersing. Okay, but particularly I'm cheersing to the fucking crawfish because So Taylor was able to find another ticket to I guess like someone in your group wasn't going to go anymore.
Yeah.
So you were like, do you want to go to New Orleans and see Olivia Rodrigo? And I was like, let me see if I can make it work with like flights. I'm going to be in Houston. After some maneuvering, ended up like getting a flight from Houston Hobby to New Orleans, literally only there for 18 hours.
You landed at 3:30 p.m. The concert started at 7:30. This bitch landed at 3:30.
Yeah. So I get picked up by my best friend and her boyfriend, Nicholas. And they're like, we have a surprise for you. It's in this Applebee's bag right here. I'm like, you guys got me Applebee's?
Well, I don't think you would have been upset about.
I wouldn't have, but you were like, just look at it. And it was a glorious Walmart plastic baggies full of crawfish.
And I just knew that you would love them.
And we literally just we checked into our hotel, which was the cutest fucking thing ever. And we sat on our little patio that we didn't even know we had and just ate crawfish and listened to like vibey rooftop music and drank a dry Lambrusco, and I was in heaven.
It was honestly beautiful. And if anybody is going to New Orleans and looking for a place to stay, the Ace Hotel was it. We were there for such a short time, I will say, but I want to go live longer. There. Yeah, it was amazing. It was The room was a good size, very reasonably priced.
The amazing bathtub. I ended up taking a soak after we got back from the concert.
Can attest to that. But there's like 3 or 4 restaurants like attached to the hotel. Yeah. There's a rooftop pool that we didn't even explore. It's supposed to be like,
we didn't even go
nice.
up to the rooftop and the pool. Have to go back to that. But we found one of the restaurants had like a reverse late night happy hour. So we got to get like really great food and stuff after the concert. So like mine wasn't even like the concert to me was great, but like the vibes and like just being able to spend time with each other, like even though we do that all the time, but it was just so much fun.
And we talked last week about having like girls trip, and this was our first just you and I trip, even though it was so short.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also cheersing to this past weekend and I landed Thursday night, flew out Sunday afternoon, so a little bit longer than you were there.
Just a little bit.
But I was able to cram in so much stuff, like from we had a whole boil at
Yeah.
Nick's parents' house. Went to like two new wine bars that had just opened up, like wandered through Magazine Street, got to check on my favorite vintage shop, like hung out with you, went to like we crammed so much stuff in to less than 72 hours, and I just had a great time. I loved it so much.
No, it was just such a nice weekend.
Yeah, I had a great time,
It
and
was great. It was like almost like like just a little preview of what a girls' trip would look like for us. And I'm like,
Mhm.
let's go back. I want to go back right away.
Literally, and I want to stay at the same hotel. I want to
Yes.
do some of the same things, and I
Oh
just want
yeah.
to have a great time.
We went to this little wine shop called Patron Saint
Hmm.
and had just a darling staff member come and help us with picking out wines. So
Yeah, we got some really good recommendations. I will say I didn't love the Riesling
oh
he picked
yeah.
out for us, but you
But
know
I
what?
think like he gave us a couple options. I need to do more research on the
Yeah,
Rieslings that I like.
it's fair.
So
But yeah, I think we're cheersing to
we
the
still
same
drank
thing.
it.
I didn't drink it.
You didn't drink it.
I didn't do that, but you still drank it.
I still drank it, and some of our friends drank it
Yeah, we
too.
had a great time, and the concert was amazing.
Yeah.
So honestly, like A plus plus
It
all
was like the
around.
best 18 hours in New Orleans.
Truly, yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. I know that we said we're finishing up our series on friendship, and I think that it's a weird topic that we're having today after we're like, we had so much fun with our friends. But the exact
Friends
opposite of
forever.
that is just like knowing sometimes that it is time to end friendship. So we started out with like talking about like how to create new friendships. Last week we talked about how to maintain and like strengthen those friendship and like the importance of dating your friends.
Yep.
And then this week we're talking about maybe when things are
Yeah.
they're not going forward anymore. You're not seeing the same sort of benefit. That's a weird way
We
of putting
hope
it.
we hope that most people don't ever have to go through something like this where you have to make the decision just for your own well-being and sanity to cut ties with someone or vice versa. If someone else decides that like their life is taking them in a different direction and you're not a part of that direction, it's just like with a relationship breakup, like you're severing ties. It might be like it might be formal like that, or it might just be like you drift and you distance, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, that person's like not on your speed dial anymore.
Yeah.
So it happens, and you shouldn't feel ashamed about it, or you shouldn't feel like a bad friend.
Yeah,
'Cause I
no,
feel like there's a stigma around that.
and there definitely shouldn't be because like you were saying, it's not always going to be this like big blowout moment, but I think it's natural to ebb and flow. And like for one, I'll be 35 this year. I'm not the same person I was when I was 25. So it
Yeah.
wouldn't make sense for me to have the exact same sort of friends I did a decade ago. Like that wouldn't
Yeah.
be fair to me or fair to those friends. So it's just
Yeah,
like kind
as you grow through life, like there are some people that like retain on to their childhood friends, their high school friends, their college friends, like throughout the years. And sometimes like those were just different parts of your life where you needed that friendship. And then as you grow and change and you kind of like shed those layers of your old self, including the friends that were there with it.
And I'm gonna say I'm always really impressed by people who have had the same friend group since they were 13. Like I can't.
That's
I have
Adam to a T.
really.
Like Adam's like half of his core group is like from his childhood and from
I
growing
cannot.
up.
I'm like such a. That's, my core being is the same. Like I still liked the same things when I
Yeah.
was like 8 as I am now. But like the way I see the world and the way I interact with things and like
It's different
it's
now.
just so different. Like I
Yeah.
can't imagine. Like I think that's really cool when people can grow together like that. But I don't know that that is the norm. And I think sometimes
I feel like though I see that a lot more with like men,
Mhm.
like and their friends from like when they were younger, when they were in college, like
maybe they're not growing and changing.
Maybe they're not. Maybe they're
Maybe
just staying
they're saying
exactly the same.
that person at that dude at 8 is the same person he is at 38.
Oh my
Like maybe
God.
that's the problem. Maybe they're the issue. I actually think they might be the issue. But no, I just like think that I'm not the same person, and I feel like I've had friendship drift apart, breakups, endings, for lack of a better word, in like the last, honestly, in the last decade that I've lived in Austin, I have gone through friend groups, and there are some where I'm like really sad and like bitter about how they've ended, and like that I think is more of a breakup, quote unquote. But then there's times where it's just been like, this is no longer serving who I am.
Yeah. No, I'm interested to like dive into that because I feel like I've been lucky that I haven't really had any hard like friendship breakups, cutoffs. You know, I've definitely feel like in my past I've drifted a little bit from like groups as, you know, one of us gets a boyfriend, one of us changes jobs and moves. But they're the kind of people that if I were to see them again or like run into them, we'd be able to like pick back up and like just kind of
have you
fall
ever
back into it.
Purposefully drifted? Which is like not as aggressive as a breaking up. But have you like been like, I could talk to this person, but I don't think we're in the same place, and like avoided reaching out to somebody for a reason like that?
I don't think I've ever like avoided reaching out to someone, but I do think like there have been times where I feel like I'm trying to hang out with this person. I'm extending a lot of invites. They're either like not responding or they're respond late or they're busy or they don't have time. And after so many attempts, I just kind of lose the initiative to keep being the only one to reach out.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm not going to text them. I just like when I have opportunities to hang out, they're not the person I go to or not the person I reach out to.
We were talking about this before we started recording, and Allie's like, yeah, you and I, like, we don't hold grudges. And I was like, I mean, maybe you don't, but like maybe I sometimes do. Because I'm like listening to you say that, and like I for sure have been like, oh, well, I've reached out to this person X amount of times, and like they're not reaching out to me. So like, I'm gonna go hang out, and I'm not gonna text them, and I'm gonna fuck them, and I hope they see me being out. Like maybe I'm just so petty. Who knows?
No, I don't know. I've never had that like thought process. But to each their own. I mean, if you feel like you get burned or slighted from that, I can 100% see why you're like, fuck that person. I'm not going to reach out to them.
Yeah. What are your, well, maybe just what you're continuing into, but like, what are your like red flags when it comes to like, this is the friend that I no longer want to prioritize? Not necessarily like aggressively unprioritize, but like you are just not prioritizing.
Yeah. I think the biggest one for me is like when I see signs of just like selfishness. And you know, one way that can allude to is if I'm like talking to someone about something that's bothering me or something that happened to me and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, and then they just go into like something about themselves. And you're just like, wow, like you did not even listen to anything I was saying. Or when you get in a fight with someone and they like really cannot like see your side of things, that's definitely like a red flag. If it's just like a very selfish mentality, or if I see signs of just like rudeness to like other people around them. But I think like, yeah, like the selfishness, the like not active listening, those kinds of things. Because I feel like that's the kind of person that's going to be a taker and not a giver, like in the friendship.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm going to warn myself, like, I'm going to guard myself against that. Because as the person that I am, I feel like I'm a big giver. And I don't like generally ask for a lot in return. So if I'm like with someone that's just taking and not giving anything back, I know I'm going to just wind up like really exhausted and like hurt from the relationship.
Yeah. I feel like last week we were like, oh my God, this is relationship advice and friendship advice. But it's like so true. I'm like, as you were talking, I was like, yeah, like if a boyfriend or somebody I was dating casually did these things, I'm like going through my red flags. I'm like, the same things I wouldn't take. Actually, it's I would probably take more of these things from somebody I was dating than I would from somebody who's supposed to be my friend, which is fucked up in its own way. But
Yeah.
like, if the thing is like, if he wanted to, he would. If he like wanted to spend time with you, he would do it. And like, if a friend wanted to spend time with you, like they would.
Yeah.
And I know that's a gross generalization. It's like we all have our own lives and different priorities and like work and working out and mental health and like your partner. Like there's a lot of other fucking things on the docket for
Yeah.
everybody. But like when you are reaching out to somebody 4, 5, 6 times and they always cancel last minute or they don't give alternatives
Yeah,
to
that's the thing
plans.
too. Like you can turn down what I'm inviting you to.
Absolutely.
But like make an effort to be like, hey, I can't make it to dinner on this day, but like why don't I take you out for drinks on this day?
Yeah.
Or, and like the other big thing too is like special occasions.
Mm.
Birthdays are a huge one. If I invite you out to my birthday, and that means like I see you as like a very close friend because I don't extend that invite out to a lot of people.
I think that we're past the age, when you're in your 30s, you're past the age of having your birthdays be like a free-for-all, where you're inviting 25 people. Maybe you met this person like 2 weeks ago, but all of a sudden you love them. Like, you're not doing that anymore when you're in your 30s.
No, you're usually doing like small intimate dinners, spa days, things like that. Maybe like for the bigger ones you might do a trip. You're not going to go on a trip with people that like you don't know or want or know very well. So if I invite you to something like that's around my birthday, it means like I value and care about you and I consider you like a close friend. And if you're not able to make it, totally understand. But if you don't like turn around and try to find a day or a time to like celebrate me with me later, because that's what I would do with my friends. Like if I couldn't make it because I had something with work or I was out of town, I'd immediately be like, can we go do something before I'm out of town? Can we go do something when I get back? I'm always like trying to make sure that like I'm taking care of my friends because I think birthdays are sacred, to be honest.
No, same. I think my birthday is my most important day of the entire year.
Yeah.
And I think not even just like birthdays, but special occasions in general. Like maybe you're not a birthday girly.
Weddings.
A wedding, a bachelorette party.
Baby shower. Like there's like these big occasions that like happen. You just got a promotion at work. Like there's like these life, celebrations that come up.
Big bubbly moments.
The big bubbly moments.
And I just think that your friends, yes, they should be celebrating you each and every single day as a good friend. But like if they're not present for these big moments and they don't make an attempt, like you're saying, to like follow up on them later, or they give you some like weird.
It's just like it hurts my feelings and it makes me feel like you really don't like care about me as a friend. So like, why am I holding you in my close group? No,
I 100% agree. I think that's if he wanted to, he would. If she wanted to, she would prioritize you.
Yeah.
Another one for me that like there are people in the past where I've been like very close friends with and then spent more time around them. Like we get a few years in, maybe even a few months in some cases. And I realized that they're like so rude to everybody else. And
oh my God, I cannot take that. I'm like, why are you talking to like people you love or like loved ones or even like people you don't know, like servers and stuff? Like,
like so
I hate
it's
that.
like when they treat your like partner poorly and like we don't always have to love our like besties partners, but like you still treat them with respect. Like there's still like somebody that's important to your friends.
And if your friend is like in a relationship with someone that's like you don't respect, like that's a bigger deal.
Yeah,
like,
that's a whole different episode.
That's a whole other episode.
We actually might need to do an episode about that on a future date. But like if they're rude to your partner or they're rude to like you're in a group of friends and they're rude to like half the people and they're like, oh, haha, I'm just kidding. But like they're saying mean and hurtful things. Like that's not kidding. Like that's not being nice. Yeah. And like I will say, I'm a very snarky, sarcastic. I love to like pick on people. I think Allie can attest to this. Yes. Like I love to just like.
But there's a line.
There's a line.
There's a line. And even sometimes I feel like you and I have maybe even crossed it with ourselves, but we always like tell the other person like that was too far. That was too much. That was hurtful. And we always feel bad about it, apologize, make sure we don't ever like say something like that again.
Yeah.
But if
No,
there's people like that you see doing something like that, like there will be some people that see us sometimes our friendship and how like we talk to each other that are like, oh my gosh, like they're talking like I've had someone be like, Taylor, I can't believe Taylor like talks to you like that.
LOL.
And I'm also like, yeah, but Taylor's just like telling it how it is. And at the end of the day, like Taylor loves me for who I am as a person. And she's also not gonna like let me get away with like being a coward or not speaking up for myself or things like that that sometimes as a quieter person I don't do, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a difference between like poking fun and somebody having malicious intent.
Yeah.
And I think that like it's not always, sometimes it can start out as one thing and then turn into the other. And like it's hard to, especially when you're in a group setting, to like recognize that sometimes you're like, am I being too sensitive? Like this has happened to me before. We're like, am I being sensitive? Like, is this person saying, is this fucking play about us? Like that sort of energy. But like sometimes it just like, you're like, are you saying this to be mean?
Yeah.
And like, honestly, in occasions like that, I have to talk to other friends who are also there. I'm like, am I taking this the wrong way? Like, should I bring it up? And if you bring it up and they're still like, oh, like you're being too sensitive. Like this is on you. Like it was just a joke. Like that's different.
And when people say that, like if they're actually like being mean and they have like a reason for why they're being mean because they're hurt or there's some unresolved conflict between you and a friend, fine, work it out, figure out if it's like able to be moved past from.
Yeah.
But if you're like doing this because you like actually like are not liking someone, like why are you trying to be friends with them?
Yeah. And I'd say off the back of that is another red flag for me is, which is so ironic. I literally just said that I am a grudge holder. But people who hold a grudge, but you have talked to them, conversations have been had, and like things don't move forward. Like they're just like stuck in that spot. And again, I realize how hypocritical that is. I literally just said that like, I love holding a grudge. But no, I know that, again, so hypocritical of me. I know I literally said like not even 10 minutes ago. I was like, I hold a fucking grudge.
Sometimes I have grudges.
But like, if you're holding a grudge it's a one-sided grudge, that's on you. If you've had a conversation and you are like, attempts have been made to move past the thing and this friend is not willing to move past it, then it becomes a red flag. And it's like,
yeah.
We're fucking human. Mistakes will be made. Sometimes people will take things too far. If it's consistent, that's one thing. But if they like say something too far one or two times and you're like, hey, I didn't like that you said that, like blah blah blah.
I hurt my feelings, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Then we move past it together as friends if that's something that you want to like if that's a friendship that you want to prioritize in your life.
Yeah.
So those are some, I don't know. Like I think those are my biggest red flags. Actually I have one more. Which kind of goes back to like never being the initiator.
Mm-hmm.
And what we talked about last week, actually, with like people who are like flaky. That's not how you maintain a friendship. But people who are like, this is also ironic because like you tend to do this sometimes. People who are always late. I just think that nothing makes me see more red than people who are just like always late.
Oh, well.
I know I've come to terms with it for you. I assume that 15 to 20 minutes later, after time I tell you, is when you'll show up. But I think that's fine because we are established at this point. Like I know that about you. Yeah. But when you are a newer friend, maybe like the I'll give you 3-year range, and you're somebody who's like, it just feels like disrespectful.
And I think it depends on the invite too. Like I feel like if you're like doing some kind of like brewery hang and they come like an hour into it. Fine.
One thing.
Group friend hang.
Totally.
A dinner, I get it. Like if you're like late to that and like you're all just kind of like waiting around to like start this dinner because this person hasn't shown up, not cool.
If they like give like, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm running late.
I will say I try to like communicate when I'm like, hi, I'm on my way. I'm like 10 minutes away. I'm 15 minutes away. Like I know I'm late. Like
maybe that's my real red flag is. Again, much like boyfriends.
The failure to communicate.
If you're not telling me what your expectations are. Like, hey, I'm going to be 15 minutes later. Like, hey, I thought you would be
Hey,
here
I'm
at this
running
time.
late. Like, yeah.
Then that's a
At
problem.
this point, I say it to you and you're like,
I know.
not
I think I say the
surprising.
usual upside down smiley face is probably what I
I
usually
can't
say.
wait for the day when I'm like, hey, I'm here. And I'm like 10 minutes early and you're like, oh my God, what?
I'm like, that's a
I'm 20
first.
minutes away.
That's a first. That'll be me. But no,
When pigs fly.
those are some of my like red flag. I don't know. Those are points where I'm like either making I know that you don't do this as much, but I'm making a conscious effort to pull away because I'm like, what am I getting out of this? We talked last week that like, it's not always a 50-50. Friendships aren't always 50-50. Same way, like relationships aren't always 50-50. There's a give and a take, but like when I am, like you were saying, giving more than I'm receiving, then there are things that need to happen.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I had any others. I mean, I think the only other one that I had that seems to be like a red flag is just when a friend lies.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, lying is basically like a non-starter for me. Like if we're friends, I want you to feel like you can tell me the truth.
Even if
you
it's like
lie
I
to
double
me-
booked myself, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, if there is a lie about why you can't make plans, I can't even get into some of the reasons I've like seen and like sort of backed out of friendships, but a lot of it has to do with like, I don't know, just like, and the reason being like, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I'm like, you just think that I'm this like fragile person that can't have their feelings hurt? Like, of course I'm going to have my feelings hurt, but like,
be honest about it.
But this is like worse. Like, this means that like, you didn't think twice about not just telling me the truth about it. So.
No, that's a really good one. And it
might start like as like a little lie, like a little white lie, but that can definitely lead into like bigger things. Mm-hmm. So
even it's like, oh, I didn't invite you because I thought that you wouldn't be interested, when it's like they're going to see your favorite band or something like that. I'm like, things like that. No, that's a really good one. I have definitely experienced.
Yeah. I mean, I've had ones of group hangs where I've seen like people I all know hanging together and I'm like, wow, like I can't believe I was. I'm like, oh, I thought you were like out of town. I'm like, you didn't
reach
want to pick up the phone and ask me?
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's
hey, are you still out of town? Yeah. Oh, okay. No worries. Was gonna invite you to this thing, but never mind. What if I said no? And you're like, okay. So yeah.
I mean, this is an experience you've never had, but we talked about it earlier about like having a more, I don't even say aggressive, that's not the right word, definitive friendship ending, like a true friendship breakup. And that's something that I've had at least like 2 or 3 times where I've had like, we have said words and we're like, in Gwyneth Paltrow's parlay, we've been like, this is a conscious uncoupling.
This isn't working for me anymore.
And like, maybe we need to take some time and we can come back to this. And honestly, it was really hard and it was really painful at the time to be like, oh, like friendships are forever. And I just like fucked it up. And now here I am like breaking up with this person. Mm-hmm. But it was necessary, I think, for like both of our mental healths, honestly, where it was just like, I think there was so much expectation looming. And like, listen, you're not going to be friends with everybody. Like, I think that Allie, you're almost like the outlier in that you haven't had a definitive friend breakup.
Yeah.
Because I think that like, it's not, people grow and they change and they fall apart. And like, sometimes.
I think though that has more to do with my personality type. I am not a confrontational person.
Oh, I love a little confrontation.
I will only have a
confrontation.
I was trying to use it as like a adjective.
Confrontation.
Like a confrontational
exchange.
Exactly. See, yeah. I would only have that if I had really truly been like burned and hurt in a way. And luckily that hasn't happened to me. In the past, I've just been like, this person's not really serving me anymore. Like, they're not reaching out to me anymore. I'm not going to keep reaching out anymore. And we just drift. And that's been fine with me, you know?
Oh, see, and I'm such a no, we need to talk through this. What do we need to talk about kind of person. Like
Yeah.
I need to like work through these things, and I do
Yeah.
not shy away from confrontation.
And I think it's good. I mean, I think that's definitely I have a more passive approach to just being like, if it's not working and we don't want to talk anymore, fine. While for you, you're kind of doing everything you can just to like check that this friendship isn't working anymore. Like have an opportunity to like talk about what's going on. Like I would never do what I do with friends to a partner. Like I mean, you can't. You can't just like all of a sudden just like start ghosting your boyfriend.
I mean, you can, but that'd be a really dick move.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe that's the thing is like I try and I would not want to treat my friends differently than I treat my partner. Like, yes, fundamentally, like I'm sleeping with one and I'm not sleeping with the others. But like, I think my partner and my friends deserve my like best attempt at whatever we're doing. And like, I think that it's really easy. I don't know. I think I'm a big proponent of communication because it's really easy to misunderstand what's happening. Yeah. So I always try to talk about things, and it doesn't always work out. Like sometimes I like am so far in left field and they're like, that's not even close to what's happening. Yeah. But I've like had to have conversations being like, where are we going with this? Like I feel like you are neglecting me. Like we are not hanging out the same way we used to. Am I still a priority for you? Yeah. And I like literally have had this conversation with like people I've considered my best friends. Yeah. And it's like, it's a weird, because we're not taught how to have those conversations there's no Cosmo articles about like 15 reasons to break up with your best friend. Like that article would never happen. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I think I don't know. And this has happened to me in college where I've like had conversations and we were in different places and it didn't make sense for us to continue the charade of like, oh no, I totally forgot to like text you this weekend when I went to our mutual friend's house versus like, we'll be civil when we see each other, but like we don't have anything left to like build from.
Well, and I think the reason why my approach has always been a little bit more like, we're just going to drift. We're not going to talk. There's no big like thing is because generally there is no big like, I don't like this person. I don't want to see them again. Or I don't want to hang out with them again. And it kind of like leaves the door open for like to rekindle that friendship later on should the opportunity arise and our situations change and we feel like we're back in a similar headspace than we were. Like I can think of all the people who I was once really, really close to, like hanging out with them like every single weekend. They were like one of the first people I picked up the phone. I thought at one point, oh, this person's going to like be in my wedding. And then they're not. And like now it's like they're like very much a stranger to me now. But if I were to like, if things were to happen in my life and like I was brought back into this person's orbit and they started wanting to hang out again, there wouldn't be an animosity of like, oh, like this person, like we drifted and I don't want to be this person's friend anymore. Like it keeps the door open for like spending time together again down the line, should it ever arise.
But there have definitely been situations like where we've had these conversations. It's been awkward. Our friendships have separated. Our friendship is separated, but we've been in the same friend group and we've come together in other situations. And it's been like very awkward.
Yeah, it's like when you run into your ex, like at an event or like at a friend's thing and you're like, oh fuck, like
how have you been? And they're there with their like new girlfriend / new best friend and you're like, oh my god, like so nice to meet you. Like it's so weird.
It's so awkward.
But I think because in this situation that I'm thinking of, like we had prioritized conversation at the end of our friendship when it was time for me to get over my grudge and like that other person as well. But like at a certain point I was like, you know what? Like there's nothing that I'm being benefited from by being scared to see this person out again. Yeah. Like if I knew that person was going out, like I didn't want to go out. And like there was nothing that was like benefiting me about that. And I remember I like reached out to them and I was like, hey, I think we can move past this. Like maybe we can like rekindle things in a different way. Like our friendship is not the same as it was then.
Yeah.
But
They're
it
probably a
doesn't
little
mean
bit
they're
more guarded with each other and maybe not as like, there's specific times and situations and like things that you limit the friendship to.
right. But we have been able to come to a point, and again, I think because we were able to talk about what was the issue at the end, that we like talked about it again when we were like rekindling our friendship and like, hey, I didn't handle this situation well. I didn't handle this part of this, and like being able to go back and forth, and it
Take a
became
little bit of ownership and that leads to like healing and moving on.
And maybe part of that is also age. Like, again, I'm not the same person I was X amount of years ago, 10 years ago. So like I can be a little bit less grudge holdy. But like, I don't know. I think that there are friends who come into your life for a reason or a season. And sometimes you have to explicitly say, like, this is no longer working for me.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's not working for you forever. Same way, like, in a romantic relationship, you can break up with somebody and then, like,
I would say, like, having the courage to, like, speak up for yourself, because only you are the one that knows how you're feeling, how this is really affecting you.
Yeah.
And, like, life is too short to, like, go about, like, being stressed or strained in any relationship, friendship, family, relationship. And having the courage to be able to cut the ties, even when it's scary as a hell, is really important and not something, it's not going to be easy, but just making sure you have that support system of people who are going to support you when you decide, I'm going to make that decision. This friendship is not serving me anymore. I'm going to say something and not be friends with this person. Work is really tough. Like, I'm going to make the decision to quit and figure it out later.
Yeah.
My father and I don't get along at all, and I know that family's forever, but I don't want to have ties with them anymore. Like, there's all these scenarios where it's just like you're the only one who knows how you feel, how it affects your day-to-day life, and being able to like speak up and prioritize yourself.
Yeah, I would say trust your fucking gut.
Yeah.
And like just maybe going back to like friends in a group, and I think maybe that gets, I don't know, maybe that does or doesn't get more difficult in your 30s because at this point you've established this is your group. But like if you're not vibing with one person in that group, and like it doesn't matter what you do, you're not vibing, it's okay. Like I don't know, like I don't want to give you permission because you don't need permission, but like if this is your sign, if this is your like freedom, if you need an example of people who have done that, like let this be that for you, that like you get to create boundaries in your own life.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of, like you were saying, like of these friendship, of romantic partnerships, of familial relationships, like you get to create the boundaries. And then going back to our red flags, if like this person isn't making you feel good and like they're not respecting your boundaries, then like you don't need to prioritize them in your life.
Agree.
Maybe that's my tips, my habits, my top 10 for fucking life in general.
Just life in general. It's a great thing to keep in mind and to just like write it down.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
courage, self-respect. I mean,
don't be a flake.
Don't be a fucking flake.
Those are I don't know. I just like, I think
don't be a flake. Yeah, if you find yourself flaking out, dig into the reason why. Do you not want to be friends with that person? Or do you just like...
That's a great thing. Like, are you being the bad friend?
Are you stretching yourself too thin and like something has to give? I feel that way sometimes when like work is driving me crazy. My relationship feels strained. I'm getting all this pressure from family about certain things. And I know that I'm juggling all the balls in the air and at some point one of them's going to fall. And I don't know if I've used this analogy before on the podcast, but a friend told me this one time about how women and men are like kind of different. Like women are like a chest of drawers.
I don't think I've used this. I've never heard this before.
And like, if like too many drawers are open, like it's going to topple over. Like, so you just have to like
so what are men
be able to like, men are a little bit more like an armoire.
What's an armoire?
Like a
wardrobe?
Like a wardrobe.
Oh.
Where they kind of have like their things like a little evenly spread. And if you like take things out, it doesn't like topple. But I feel like women try to do...
That's because men are compartmentalizing.
Yeah. Possibly.
I just want them to
But like
be more
women, like sometimes just think like they can do more and more and more, and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, they're just boop,
yeah.
just completely fallen over because like
Yeah.
too many drawers are open, the weight's not evenly distributed.
Yeah. No, that's a really good, I've never heard that analogy before, but yeah, if you think that you are being a bad friend, like be honest with yourself. Are you stretched too thin? Are too many drawers open? Like, and if that's the case and you're being a bad friend because you just can't do it all, again, communication, just be like, hey, I want to be a good friend to you and I just am not in a place where I can do it. Like, I'm sorry, versus are you being a bad friend because you don't want to be friends with this person? In which case, maybe you can either fade away as an ally or you can have a conversation as a Taylor. Like that, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. It's what works for you and your lifestyle, like your personality. But like, I think just be really honest with yourself. If you are the person being late to everything, if you're the person always canceling last minute for a dinner or a whatever, like, be honest. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, and if the reason you're doing it is because like work's taking too much of your time, your new relationship is like, find ways to, if that friendship is important to you, find ways to solve it. Like put more boundaries up with work so you're like not working after hours when it cuts into like friendship hangout time or weekends. If it's a new relationship, like is there a reason why your new partner like is it because they're not happy that you're hanging out with your friends over them? That's a red flag for your relationship.
But even if it's like you just want to spend so much time with your partner, you're like so head over heels,
find a group date, like
a group date, and like
group hangs.
Don't be afraid to like. Don't be one of those weird couples who like is annoying if there's a single friend with you and you're like, oh my god, like I should set you up with XYZ. Like don't be that fucking person. Just like don't do it. But like you can hang out with a group. You can also, if you really cannot, you're so tied up in what's happening, maybe you're traveling a lot to go see them, like send a text, be like, hey, thinking of you. I know we haven't hung out in a while, like, but doesn't mean I don't appreciate you. Like, I just think that there are things, if you are being the bad friend,
if you wanted to,
good fucking look at yourself.
If you wanted to, you would.
If you wanted to, you would.
So
I've done that with like when I
and if you don't want to, it's because like you don't like hanging out with that person. That person's always so fucking depressing when you're like around them. Then it's just time to like have a bigger discussion about like that friendship.
Yeah. And there's no, again, I would like you guys to take away from this conversation that like there is no right or wrong way to end a friendship or to like have that discussion, like whether that's a discussion, whether that's a fade away. Again, like there's not a right or a wrong. And I just want you guys to feel empowered to like make those decisions for yourself, but like also to be very honest with yourself and the people around you about what that is.
100%.
And on that note, Allie, what's your song of the week?
My song of the week is, so I don't know if you guys could tell from way over in the camera, I'm wearing a Billy Idol White Wedding Chapel shirt. And so my song is White Wedding by Billy Idol.
I love that.
I got this shirt from a friend was selling some of their shirts and he lives out in LA. And I was like, oh my God, that's a cool shirt. I'm like, he was selling them on his Instagram. I'm like, wait, I'll take it. So yeah, Billy Idol White Wedding. Boom.
Here for it.
Mm-hmm.
My song of the week is, since we just went to see Olivia Rodrigo in concert and we were surrounded by honestly 8-year-olds.
Oh my God. So many.
We were leaving the hotel and this mom was like, she's like our age. This woman was like our age outside and she's like, oh my God, like, are you guys going to the Olivia show? And we're like, oh yeah, like totally. She's like, well, like when do you think she's going to go on? Like my daughter and I just got upgraded seats. Like she's 8. She's so excited. And I was like, oh, like I'm going to the show for myself, like not for my 8-year-old. So there were a lot of teenagers, but like, what do you expect? Olivia Rodrigo is like literally barely 21.
Yeah, she just turned 21 like 2 weeks ago.
But my song of the week is Obsessed by Olivia Rodrigo. It's It's an unreleased song. She played it at the show and I listened to it 3 times in a row in the car today. And it was only like a 5-song length car ride.
Multiple times.
So it was really, really fun. I could only find it on Spotify as a podcast episode that someone had uploaded. That was like how they had gotten around it.
I didn't realize that song was unreleased.
Yeah, it's an unreleased song.
Huh. It's like when Harry Styles played Medicine at his show and we all lost our minds.
Just like that. Same thing.
Interesting. Well, I can't add that to the Everyday Bubbly Bops playlist. I don't know if you'll be able to add that.
Sorry, y'all.
But
that's if you know, you know kind of thing.
You know.
But that's my song of the week. I listen to it. I think everybody can relate to the feeling of being like a little bit too inquisitive about their boyfriends or girlfriends or partners' ex, and just like wanting to know, like, what did you guys do? Like, what did you do here?
Yeah.
So
what's this thing about?
Yeah. So that's my song of the week.
Good.
But yeah, I guess that wraps up our episode. That wraps up our little mini series on friendship. If y'all have any other series you'd like us to do, I think we talked about doing like a money one.
Yep. And maybe a relationship one.
Yeah.
So
maybe another little series on that too. But we would love to hear from y'all. We love getting to chat with you. As a reminder, we are on YouTube now. You can watch these episodes live and in color. And they're not live, sorry, but they are here on YouTube and they are in color. So there's that.
Yay!
But yeah, we love getting to do this. If you guys could take some time to rate and review, I think we'll be having our first live event in a couple of months.
Yep.
So if you are interested in hanging out with us or doing some Pilates and you live in the Austin area, just keep an ear out. We're super excited for that. And Allie, anything else? Anything I'm missing?
No, just like, subscribe, refer us to people you know. Anyone else that you think would benefit from getting a little bit of everyday bubbly cheer.
Yeah.
Every Thursday.
Yeah.
So, thanks for being here with us, guys.
We love you guys. Bye, bubblers.
Cheers.
Ciao.